Warning. The following fanfic reading contains sexual innuendos. Viewers' discretion is advised. Suit Yourself. Written by SilverTongueofCanterlot. Rarity was hunched over slightly, her stool taken by her friend Applejack, who sat in the corner of the room, a cold, furious expression on her face as the fashionista tried her best not to look at the farm girl and instead focus on her work.
"Are you going to stare at me like that all day?"
Rarity asked, a slight tremble in her voice as her friend's glare seemed to make her nervous, making her hands shaky and making it very difficult for her to finish the dress she was working on.
I still don't understand why I have to be here. I'm supposed to be helping my family with work on the farm.
Because, darling, I need to get your measurements and make sure I get just the right colors to match your skin tone.
She then returned to her work table and began overlooking the cluttered tabletop.
Now where did I put my measuring tape?
You have measured me before, you know. Yeah, I think you'd keep a record of my measurements.
Rarity blushed at that moment, tensing up as she once again turned towards Applejack, smiling nervously.
I used to, but, well...
Thinking quickly, Rarity thankfully found an excuse she was so desperately in need of.
Remember when Twilight spent the entire day organizing my workshop to avoid going home?
How could I forget? Before that, she was helping me all day with farm work.
Yes, well, she also tried to alphabetize my book of regular customers' measurements, but, well...
She rolled her eyes away from Applejack, causing the farm girl to raise an eyebrow in curiosity.
Well, what? What happened?
She burnt out and drooled all over the pages. Every last one was lost, and I'm still trying to recover them all.
Rarity answered, shrugging and smiling nervously. While this was true, Rarity had told a slight fib in saying that all of the measurements had been lost. Only the one page Twilight had passed out on was, and she had already remeasured those clients.
And, to be honest, darling,
she continued rubbing the back of her neck nervously.
Lately you've been looking a little, bigger.
At this, Applejack's face went red with wide but still furious eyes.
Bigger?
She suddenly stood up.
Rarity, are y'all suggesting I'm fat?
No!
Rarity replied quickly, waving her hands out in front of her.
I just mean, well, you've, matured since then.
Rarity sighed with relief internally. In the back of her mind, a voice in her head said,
"That's it, Rarity. Crisis averted."
However, the still rather skeptical expression of her friend made her opinion quickly change.
"She's not buying it! She's going to hate me! What have I done?"
Even in her head, Rarity was an incredible drama queen.
Matured?
Applejack narrowed her eyes.
What do y'all mean by that? I don't like the sound of that.
Well,
Now Rarity was in trouble. How could she say it without upsetting her?
All I mean, darling, is, well, you see, the fact of the matter is that your curves have grown a little since last time.
As Applejack's eyes widened even more, the anger draining out of them for pure wide-eyed shock, paired with a blush that screamed embarrassment, Rarity felt as if she had been dropped into a large vat of boiling water.
Oh no, oh no, oh no!
She mentally panicked as Applejack composed herself, returning to her skeptical expression and walked over to Rarity. The seamstress couldn't help but wonder if perhaps she could have handled that with a bit more elegance.
Mac. curves?
Applejack asked, hands on her hips as she gave a cold stare to her friend.
What are y'all bringing up my curves for?
Rarity's face flushed, turning bright red.
Well,
Rarity stammered, then summoning up all her courage, she simply blurted out,
Well, I'm a designer, darling. It's inevitable for me to make at least a mention of a client's body since that's what the entire ensemble revolves around. I need to make sure it's not too small, not too big, doesn't make them look ridiculous, or is made of some gaudy fabric like that.
Rarity cut herself off, remembering that the farm girl in front of her was currently wearing a skirt made of the fabric she stopped herself from saying.
And just what is wrong with denim?
Nothing!
Rarity defended, attempting to calm her friend.
It's just, well,
Rarity was quickly cut off as Applejack poked at her chest with yet another furious outburst.
I have y'all know that denim is a sturdy and reliable material. This skirt has lasted a lot longer than any of my other clothes. This is my third skirt.
Applejack said, defending her choice of fabric, tugging on her shirt.
The only thing that's lasted longer than that are my boots and my hat.
Well, I will admit that's an admirable quality, darling. All I meant was...
But before Rarity could finish, she was once again interrupted by her outraged friend as she continued her rant.
And another thing, it's more practical and less delicate than some hoity-toity fabric like silk is.
Rarity's eyes widened before narrowing to a face everyone knew all too well. That was the last straw.
What was that?
Rarity snapped, leaning forward to be face to face with Applejack as she stormed angrily towards her.
I will have you know that silk is one of the most elegant and perfect fabrics known to man. It is smooth and soft to the touch, displays an air of sophistication and class, and I will have you know it is entirely what the clothes I am currently wearing are made of.
Applejack's rump bumped into Rarity's work table as she quickly ran out of room to back up in, Rarity standing a little too close for comfort, both girls exceedingly furious with one another.
Sophistication and class? More like snootiness and snobbery, which is what describes y'all to a T. Not to mention, it's flimsy and weak, much like you.
Well, I never! I will have you know I am not flimsy! I am delicate, as a girl should be! Unlike you dirty, ruggish tomboy! You make Rainbow Dash look feminine! And another thing, do you ever brush your hair? It looks like a rat's nest!
Now you listen to me, you little waif. My hair is just fine. And delicate? Where I come from, it's another word for weak. I know what hard work is, unlike you. Ugh! I don't know why I'm friends with you. Sometimes y'all nothing but a...
Applejack cried out in surprise as she suddenly tripped, grabbing onto Rarity's shoulder for support, but only pulling her down with her. The two of them landed on Rarity's work table, Applejack landing on her back with Rarity on top of her, both of them wide-eyed and blushing madly. There was a moment of silence that seemed to stretch on for about an hour or so. Then finally, the silence was broken as Rarity stammered.
Oh dear!
Applejack grunted slightly, unsure of what to do or say.
Well... this is awkward.
Rarity said, chuckling nervously. Then, as she stared directly into Applejack's eyes, She suddenly found herself entranced in a way she had not been by even the most beautiful sights her eyes had ever beheld. Scratch that. Those sparkling emeralds were the most beautiful, dazzling, and spectacular things Rarity had ever seen in her life.
Applejack,
Rarity stammered softly, rendered speechless as she lost all sense of the world around her. For that moment, there was only Rarity, Applejack, and the table.
Yeah, Rare?
Applejack asked, fumbling for words as she stared back into Rarity's own sparkling sapphire blue eyes.
Well, it's just your eyes.
What about him?
Rarity blushed.
They're beautiful.
Applejack blinked a few times, unsure of whether she'd heard her properly.
Beg your pardon, Sugar Cube?
You heard me,
Rarity said, her tone shaky and a little timid.
Your eyes are the most spectacular, stunning, amazingly beautiful things I've ever seen, and I think I love you.
Applejack's blush intensified, and her pupils shrank to pinpricks, making her eyes look even larger by comparison.
What? After everything I said?
You heard me!
Rarity said, suddenly a little less embarrassed. In fact, saying it out loud gave her a sort of powerful feeling, as if there was nothing she couldn't do. So utilizing this newly found confidence, she repeated herself,
I love you! There! I said it, Applejack! I love you! You perfect orange idiot!
Rarity,
Applejack said in an unsure, breathy voice. Then she pulled Rarity closer, kissing the fashionista passionately on the lips. Rarity's eyes widened as she felt all the energy slowly drain from her body, and as she slowly closed her eyes, she leaned in and returned the kiss, resting her hands on Applejack's shoulders as she raised one leg behind her in a haze of intensive bliss. As the two finally parted lips to catch their breath, small smiles crept along both their faces as they panted heavily and staring deeply into each other's eyes.
That was wonderful,
Rarity said, now completely supporting herself on Applejack, not even caring about how her hair had been slightly messed up as Applejack ran her fingers through it.
You know, I never noticed how soft your hair is,
Applejack said, her chest rising and falling as her breathing became heavier. Rarity blushed at the compliment.
Well, not nearly as soft as your skin,
Rarity admitted shyly.
Maybe I could spend less money on those fancy mud baths and just come down to the farm. Y'all get one for free.
She chuckled, smiling as Rarity gave a slight titter at her playful joke.
I might just have to take you up on that.
Rarity sighed as she rested her head on Applejack's chest, closing her eyes as she listened to her steady, slightly elevated heartbeat. Applejack's smile widened ever so slightly as she gently placed a hand on Rarity's head, tenderly stroking her soft purple hair.
I like that,
she said softly, then raised her eyebrow as Rarity didn't respond. Normally, she'd always have to get the last word in.
Rare?
Then Applejack chuckled again as Rarity gave the cutest little snore Applejack had ever heard.
Sweet dream, Sugar Cube.
Applejack said softly, making sure to keep her voice down as much as possible. Then, being as careful as she could, leaned in slowly and kissed Rarity on the top of her head.
Bigger? Rarity, y'all suggested I'm fat? But bigger? Rarity, are y'all suggesting I'm fat? Because if you are, you about to get these Oh, okay, I can't say that because I remember, the other time. I was about to take you to dinner and then I called your butt big. And why is Scooby growling? Cause he's dreaming, that's why. Wake up! Thank you. I just yelled. So I was like, wake up! Oh, he's so cute. I have y'all know that denim is a sturdy and reliable material. This skirt has lasted a lot longer than any I was about to swerve. I was about to swerve into someplace dark. I was about to be like, this skirt has lasted a lot longer than any of y'all boyfriends, okay? Any of y'all relationships. That's basically what I was about to say. I was like... oh, Lord. And another thing. It's more practical and less delicate than some hoity-toity fabric like silk is. I've been kicking trees all day, and look, my boots look like they brand new. They look like they just came out of the freaking store, bro. They look like they came right off the cow, okay? That's how good and new my shoes look, okay? And look at this skirt. Not an ounce of dirt. And look at my hat. Oh, because I know where it's at. See? See, Snap? Get on my level. Sophistication and class? More like snootiness and snobbery, which is what describes y'all to a T. Not to mention, it's flimsy and weak, much like you. Oh! Shit! Oh! Boom, boom, boom! Shots fired! Oh! Oh, damn! Roast! Oh, damn! Cremated! Oh, that wasn't even a roast, that was cremation. It's like burnt. Even aloe vera can't fix that burn, bro. Oh. Damn.
And then she pulls Rarity into a kiss.
Yeah.
On the lips. Like passionately kissing her on the lips. So yeah.
Intenseful bliss. Like, I'm trying to be serious about this. Yo, kissing scenes, they are just so awkward.